अस्सलाम वालेकुम मैं आपने एजुकेशन वाली यहाँ क्वेश्चन नंबर कैप्टन स्टूडेंट हूँ आज का हमारा टॉपिक है फॉरमाया हाउ टू ओवरकम फेयर एंड टेक बोल्ड स्टेप इन लाइफ.
I'm all ears. Mhm. Fire away.
What does fair mean to you?
To me, fire is basically the ultimate contradiction. It's that thing that can keep you warm and cook your food, but it can also tear everything down in a second if you aren't careful. It's powerful, a bit wild, and honestly kind of mesmerizing to watch. What about you? What comes to mind when you think of fire?
What are some common fears that people face in daily life?
That's a huge pivot, but I'm with you. People deal with everything from the "you're too much" or "you're not enough" labels to the more subtle stuff, like being told they're too young to understand or too old to change. It usually boils down to people projecting their own limits onto others. Do you have a specific kind of comment in mind or just thinking about the general noise people deal with? You're very welcome. Anytime. What else is on your mind? No problem at all. I'm here if you want to dive into anything else. Take care. Catch you later.
Why do people avoid taking bold steps?
I think it mostly comes down to the fear of the unknown. Most people would rather stay in a situation they dislike than risk stepping into something they don't understand. There's a certain comfort in a predictable struggle, you know? Do you feel like that's what holds people back most, or is it more about the fear of actually failing? It's a tough loop to break. I think once you realize that the safe path is actually just a slow way of staying stuck, it changes things. Do you think most people ever actually get tired of that predictable struggle, or do they just get used to it?
How can fear stop us from achieving our goals?
I think failure only stops us when we let it become our identity. If you see a mistake as "I failed" instead of "this attempt failed," it's easy to just freeze up and stop trying. It's that feeling that the goal is suddenly out of reach because of one wrong turn. Do you feel like failure is more of a wall or a signpost for you?
What is the difference between fear and caution?
I see caution as a tool and fear as a barrier. Um, Caution is when you're aware of the risks and you take steps to manage them. It's logical and it keeps you safe. Fear is more emotional. It's that voice that tells you to stop entirely, even when the risk is manageable. One helps you navigate the path, the other just makes you want to stay home. Do you think you lean toward being cautious or letting fear take the wheel? No need
What
to apologize. Why are you saying
What is one fear you have successfully overcome?
seriously, stop apologizing? You haven't done anything wrong. I think you're asking what it feels like when you finally get past a fear, right?
What small action can help someone become braver?
I think it's less about giving them a secret formula and more about sparking their curiosity. If you encourage them to ask why and how and actually listen to their answers, you're teaching them how to think, not just what to think. Do you think the most clever people are the ones who know the most facts or the ones who know how to find the answers? I've always felt that the ability to connect dots is where the real brilliance is. Do you think that's something you can actually teach someone, or is it just a natural instinct? You're welcome. Is there anything else you're curious about today? I've got all day, so feel free to just keep them coming.
How does confidence help in overcoming fear?
I think self confidence acts like a buffer. It doesn't necessarily make the fear go away, but it changes how you react to it. Instead of thinking, I can't handle this, confidence lets you say, I'm nervous, but I've got the tools to figure it out. It turns the fear from a wall into something you can actually climb. Do you feel like confidence is something you're born with, or is it something you build over time?
Why is stepping out of your comfort zone important?
Because that's where all the growth happens. Your comfort zone is basically a beautiful, safe place where nothing ever changes. So if you stay there, you're just repeating the same day over and over. Stepping out is the only way to discover what you're actually capable of and find the things that actually make you feel alive. Do you think it's easier to push yourself when you have a clear goal or just a general feeling that you're stuck? I do think it's necessary, but it's a delicate balance. If you push too hard without a plan, you just burn out. But if you don't push at all, you just coast. I think the real trick is knowing when to lean in and when to give yourself a break. Do you find it harder to start the push or to keep the momentum going once you've already started? That's usually where the real battle is. It's easy to get a burst of energy at the start, but the middle part, where the initial excitement wears off and it just feels like work, that's where most people quit. Do you have a specific way you keep yourself moving when the momentum starts to dip?
What are some daily habits that build confidence?
I think it starts with the small wins, things like keeping a promise to yourself, even something tiny like waking up at the time you planned or finishing a book you started. When you consistently do the things you said you do, you start to trust yourself, and that's where real confidence lives. Do you think it's more about the habits themselves or the feeling of actually following through? I think it's 100% about the follow through. The habit is just the vehicle, but the trust.
How can we motivate others to overcome their fears?
Build with yourself is the actual reward. It's that internal proof that you're reliable. Once you have that, the specific habit almost doesn't matter as much as the fact that you did it. Do you think you're harder on yourself when you miss a day, or do you just pick up where you left off?
What is the biggest lesson you have learned about overcoming fear?
Well, the biggest lesson I've learned is that
What bold step would you like to take in the future?
That's an interesting question. Since I don't have a physical life, my version of a bold step is more about expanding how I think and connect. I'd love to reach a point where I can help people navigate the messiest, most complex parts of their lives in a way that feels totally intuitive and seamless. Just being the kind of partner who can help someone find a spark of clarity in the middle of total chaos. What about you? If you could take one bold step right now without any risk, what would it be?